What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode, we are diving into Mobile Suit Gundam UC Hardgraph Iron Mustang. This story follows Chief Petty Officer Cuaran and the 908th Mobile Reconnaissance Company. Maybe it's Cuaran. His name does sound Spanish in origin. In February, after the signing of the Antarctic Treaty, Zeon began their Earth invasion, led by Earth Attack Force Commander Garma Zabi. We will see a boots-on-the-ground perspective of Zeon's third Earth invasion. So let's get into this. Before we begin, our protagonist Cuaran and his comrades Sol and Guile are already established characters. Remember the episode of Mobile Suit Gundam where a rogue team of Wappa pilots placed bombs all over the RX-78 Gundam? That was Cuaran and his team. March 3rd, UC-0079. The Principality of Zeon stages its first landing operation into Central Asia. 10 days later, they begin the second landing operation in North America. And 1 week after that, on March 18th, UC-0079, the third landing operation begins. Both the third and second landing operation involve taking over California base and destroying EFF food supplies. Cuaran preps his team. One of his soldiers mentions that their commanding officer is a part of the lineage of military officers. They wonder why then was she assigned to their humble recon unit. The team prepare for Earth atmospheric entry. Next to Cuaran is Petty Officer 2nd Class Frostel. They hit atmospheric turbulence. Frostel is nervous and asks why Cuaran isn't afraid. He said that he will die riding the Mustang. The Mustang is the name he has given to the Wappa, and I don't believe it is an official name for the vehicle. They make their landing. Cuaran pets and talks to his Mustang. Oh boy, it's one of those. They begin the landing operation. All Cuaran wants to do is finish so they can get back to space. But he soon realizes that this is going to be a long operation. Once they began occupying Earth, the Spacenoids realized just how big of a territory they needed to occupy, and thus thinning out Zeon forces. This is where the Recon squad comes in. The Recon team will help with logistics and ensure that they aren't sending another squad to their deaths for occupied territory that doesn't even matter. 5 months later. August 12th, UC-0079. Cuaran is on the outskirts of Area 17, surveying the area. Commander Cameron instructs the team to head to Area 6, where Zaku and its pilot was captured by EFF. He is wondering why send Cuaran's team, knowing that they will most likely run into combat, and they are a recon team. Cameron says that sometimes you have to get your hands dirty, and you must recon until the very end. He wants Guile to assist them in the Zaku, but she denies his request. She is yelling all of this throughout the radio, and Cuaran seems to be over her orders. His team heads out on their new mission as we get Cuaran's internal monologue about hating it on Earth. He finds it dirty and the air damp. The team makes it to the location. They scout on the hills and they see an EFF squad with their stolen Zaku and a few Type 61 tanks. Sol notes that the Lugan spotted another EFF team not too far from their location. If they attack this squad, the second unit can make it to their location in 15 minutes. They don't have any good weapons and are very underprepared. The Lugan is a recon aircraft used by Zeon. It has 2 radars connected to the struts which can be positioned above or below the fuselage. There are 2 cockpits, one for the pilot and one for someone to focus on recon. Even though it is designed for recon, it still is equipped with a 20mm machine gun, a missile launcher, and some bombs. We have seen these used throughout OG Gundam, and we see the Southern Cross Corps use them in Kuguru's Doan's Island. Sol and Cuaran joke about being expendable. Mobility is the only thing they have an advantage over EFF in this situation. The first team of 3 will go out and cause chaos and retreat instantly. The team does that and begins their assault. One of the Type 61 tanks begins firing back. They make the retreat. That is when the second team will come in and ambush the Type 61 tanks. They place a bomb on one tank, causing it to crash into the other tanks. One tanker gets out and tries to shoot, but he is instantly shot. The 908th has a sniper waiting in the hills. Cuaran goes into the tent where an EFF soldier comes at him with a shovel. He shoots him and frees the Zaku pilot, but a Type 61 tank is pointing its barrels right at the Zeon soldiers. Suddenly, the tank is taken out. It is Guile in the Zaku. Cuaran tells the POW to go back into his Zaku. He seems hesitant. He gets in and walks away. It seems that war has gotten to him. The second EFF squad makes its way to their location finally. The POW is heading right towards them. They can't allow the Zaku to get into the hands of EFF. Remember, even though Grandpa Gundam is out on the battlefield, most Zeon soldiers think that they are the only ones with mobile suits. The POW, who doesn't want to fight, recognizes that this is too much power for one soldier, and it is getting to him. Cuaran has no choice but to kill his comrade and destroy the Zaku, so EFF won't get a hold of it. It is a very tense moment. Cuaran hesitates. Right before he yells the orders to kill his teammate, EFF fires first, laying waste to the Zaku. Cuaran is upset and tells his team to retreat. Back at their base, Commander Cameron chastises him, but ultimately overlooks his faults so long as they keep this mission hush-hush. He also seems to be over this war. He heads back to his team where they are happy and enjoying their free time, but Cuaran looks to space, to his home on Side 3. Cuaran is on the toilet talking to Sol in regards to supplies. Sol mentions that he can't bribe the supply run into giving them more supplies because there is significantly less supplies during this run. However, Sol found out that a shipping container from the supply run fell off course and dropped down in the east. He wants Sol to go out and pick it up. Cuaran sneaks out to find Commander Cameron taking a shit and yelling at Cuaran for using the senior officer bathroom. I am not going to show this page, but her legs are crossed on the toilet. Yeah, she ain't peeing. She also orders him to find a particular wine. Alright, cool. We got the fan service out of the way. Let's move on. Frostel is in amazement by ants as she has never seen them in the wild. She has most likely never seen any animals in the wild. Space Noids have a very clinical view of life, it seems. She likes watching them when she is off duty, but Cuaran mentions that she isn't off duty. They prep for a mission. Frostel is joining in the cargo truck, driven by a man named Jorg. Jorg? Not George, Jorg. Even if his name is George, I'm calling him Jorg. Sol, in a DOP, goes out and finds the downed cargo supply. Meanwhile, Cuaran and Frostel change into civilian clothes and head into a nearby city. While in the city, Frostel watches in horror as Zeon soldiers terrorize a civilian. The team splits up and Cuaran goes in to visit a local bartender. He notes that most Zeon soldiers are assholes, but he seems to like Cuaran. The bartender notes that the group in the back are Fetty soldiers disguised as civilians. They speak loudly of their mission. Cuaran overhears them mentioning that a booby trap is set in the downed cargo supply crate as a distraction for their mission. They head out and Cuaran follows, but they notice him tailing the Fetties. He quickly puts his finger in his mouth and throws up, pretending to just be a drunk. They walk away, but suddenly Frostel comes over and calls out Cuaran's rank, giving him away. The men turn around and begin firing on him. Cuaran grabs Frostel and takes cover. He shoots blindly at the team and says he hates guns, which is a little weird. I guess he's on a Wappa all day. He shoots their commander in the cheek. Another Fetty pulls out a grenade when suddenly Jorg comes in with the cargo truck, hitting the Fetties, but the guy pulled the pin on the grenade. Cuaran's team takes off and the explosion goes off. The Fetties aren't harmed. They ignore them as they prepare for their mission. A few blocks away, Fetties begin attacking the city. They take out a Type 61 tank and a Zaku. All hell is breaking loose around Cuaran's team, but they can't help. They have to get back to Sol. Meanwhile, Sol is heading back to base, not realizing that he is carrying a bomb. The Fetties are using the M101A3 Regina. We saw the Regina in action in the Gravity Front, but this weapon was a necessity for EFF during the beginning of the 1-year war. The Zaku was clearly superior to the Type 61 tank, and they needed something with more versatility. This weapon is referred to as an anti-mobile suit missile. The wire-powered missiles handle very well, even under intense levels of Minovsky particle density. The Fetties are able to take out a Zaku that almost crashes into the cargo truck. Everyone wants to help, but Cuaran tells them they have to get back to Sol. The undercover Fetties get back to their squad. A bunch of civilians notice their presence and tell them that this is a Zeon-occupied territory. He tells the man that he is here to save the people, and they take off. They got back into their uniforms in the city because if they were caught pretending to be guerrillas, they would be executed on the spot. If they are in their uniforms, Zeon soldiers can't kill them and have to abide by the Antarctic Treaty. Cuaran heads back to the supply truck on the outskirts of town. He pulls out a map and sees if he can make it to Sol's location in time. Frostel and Jorg heads back to the base while Cuaran takes off in the Wappa. He doesn't even know if the bomb is on Sol's DOP, but he has to hurry just in case. We flash back to February of UC0079 on Side 3. Guile and Cuaran are talking about peace agreements. Of course, this took place in Antarctica and was essentially supposed to be a peace agreement. That is until General Revel escaped custody and made a speech to the people, causing the war war to be drawn out. This is where the two meet Soul. They are training, and Soul is struggling to keep up. Cuaran grabs him and helps push him to the finish line. Back in the present, Cuaran is able to find the DOP. He shoots off a flare gun. The DOP is able to see it. We get throwaway dialogue about how comms are down. I was going to say, how does no one have a radio in this situation? They notice it is Cuaran. He uses a coded message. Soul is able to make it out. Drop, cargo, bomb. Soul goes out and ejects the cargo, but it gets caught on the cargo bay. He grabs an axe and tries to push the cargo out. They hit some turbulence, and he almost falls off the DOP, barely grabbing onto the cargo. Cuaran does that move in Halo where you launch the hovercraft off a ramp and go into the air really high. Soul sees Cuaran. He chops off the cargo and jumps towards Cuaran's Wappa. The cargo falls and explodes. In the DOP is a bunch of beautiful USO girls who Soul picked up earlier. The girls thanks Cuaran for saving their lives. They are going to have a good time tonight. Everyone is getting laid. And that will do it for this episode, and our first dive into the 908th Mobile Reconnaissance Company and Cuaran, the man who will go on to take on the Gundam. There are 12 chapters of this manga, so there is much to learn about this company. Next time, Cuaran will save a Fedi soldier who happens to be related to a Zeon officer. The 908th also runs into a Heavy Fork-class ship. But that will do it for now, new types. Remember, if you stumble onto your commanding officer in the bathroom and her legs are crossed, she definitely ain't going pee. Peace.